This video is sponsored by Thrive Market. Can you imagine living 30 minutes from the nearest grocery store or restaurant? We used to live within walking distance of both, but then we moved to rural America. We traded convenience for simplicity and the luxury of spreading out. But one thing hasn't changed: we still have to eat. So today, let's slow down and spend the day together, making meals from what we grow and what we have in our tiny off-grid kitchen, and how we get our hands on some specialty items that make us feel like we aren't missing out.
Doesn't get any fresher than that. That chicken, I didn't think was laying anymore. She's our oldest chicken. She's 5. She's supposed to lay a bluish greenish egg, and I swear to gosh, she was. And this is a surprise.
Thank you for your egg. Good morning. It is time to make breakfast. We have an abundance of eggs. You've probably heard us talk about that, but they just keep growing. So for breakfast, we're going to have an egg-heavy dish, an omelet. We finally are getting some things growing in the garden, and I feel like we make this same exact meal when this starts happening, when things start growing again. Today we have a lot of spinach, some kale, and some herbs. We have thyme, sage, and oregano. And then Casey picked a green garlic because we have a lot of garlic coming up. But I noticed in some of the holes there are 2 garlics, and basically you want one of those to get really big. So you can pick one of them and just cut it up, and it smells so garlicky, but it's a lighter flavor. But it's nice to have because we won't have the garlic for a long time. I just remembered I want to cook bacon as well, so this is going on the side for now. This is bacon from pigs that we raised on our land, and it is the best bacon we've ever had. I'm cutting it in half down the middle. It just makes it easier for it to fit in the pan. Usually what I do when I'm making an omelet is I just make one big omelet and cut it in half, and Casey and I each have a half. And on her half, she's going to have tomatoes, and these are diced tomatoes that we canned last summer, and Casey likes to use these for everything. I think she says they taste way better than what you can get in the store right now. There we go. One, oh, it's oozing.
Baby fork for you, big fork for me.
I wouldn't say these are the prettiest omelets. They never are, but
That's actually, not surprised, but it's very good. We need to change into our work clothes.
between meals, we are working in the garden, which feels like exactly what we do anytime we have an extra moment.
A Thrive box just came, which is very good news for us because it's lunchtime and we're hungry. We're putting together just a little snack plate. When we're working on a project or we're outside all day, when it's time for lunch, we need something quick and easy. Because I have celiac and need to eat gluten-free, those types of items can be challenging to find where we live, which is why we order from Thrive, because they have a large selection of healthy gluten-free items. The website makes it really easy for me to only look at items that are gluten-free. What I also love about Thrive is that they are committed to supporting people and the planet, and do so by seeking out brands that have ethical products and practices. And that gives me a lot of peace of mind. This was one of our free gifts. So I'm gonna heat up some water, and we're gonna have a little bit of bone broth. We're gonna have a chompling, some of these gluten-free chips, an apple with almond butter, one of those little carrot cake bites, and air Cottage cheese. If you want to get 30% off your first order and a free gift, go to thrivemarket.com/heywanderer.
Is it so hot?
That's good. Not lost on me.
Casey has been working in the garden for weeks and weeks, and it is time to put food into the ground.
Somebody come get her.
The beds aren't exactly ready yet, but we're just gonna get one covered in weed paper and wood chips so we can start planting.
I see it. It's running down the road.
If you were around last summer when our chickens all started disappearing and we realized it was from a fox, well, we just saw him today. It was being chased by our neighbor's dogs, and this is it reacting.
Tell us about the method we're using to plant our onions.
We planted our onions in soil blocks and did a couple in each one, and the whole point of soil blocks is so you can just plant them and not have transplant shock. And so I thought we might try the Charles Dowding method, where you plant multiples together and you space them a little bit further apart, and then they grow big onions even when you're growing like 2 or 3 or 4 together. Or if it's 4, you might like pull out the small one in the beginning. But we're scared that it's not gonna work out. But instead of splitting them up, we're just gonna plant them in their little pairs. There's some that just have one, like that's just one. But we grew them from seed, so that's exciting. They look like little tiny onions. Okay, this is mid-third. I didn't know what you could.
For dinner today, we are going back in time to when I made a batch meal and froze it in portions. I harvested a ton of spinach because it was doing great even back then, and we are going to be using some sausage from our pigs.
Wow.
I cooked some pasta halfway. This is of course gluten-free pasta, and then I cooked down the spinach. I am putting a can of our diced tomatoes in this recipe, and then I'm also pouring in this cottage cheese sauce mixture thing that I made up, but it should taste like a cheesy pasta. The cooked spinach is going in, and so is the sausage, and I'm going to freeze it at this stage because the pasta will end up cooking again when we rewarm it up. And I'm trying to prevent mushy pasta. It's almost impossible, but this ended up working out pretty good. I added a little mozzarella on the top and baked this, and it turned out really delicious, and we still have a few portions of this in our freezer.
We're gonna make something for tea later on, and we're going to be using the Instant Pot. I saw someone talking about how you can bake potatoes in your Instant Pot, and we're gonna do sweet potatoes. It kind of blew my mind when I saw that they were doing that because it takes way less time in the Instant Pot than it does in the oven, which means we use less power. Since we are off-grid, that is good for us. So I'm gonna get these in here, and when they're ready, we will come back and work on what we're actually making for tea. This is kefir water that I made with clementine juice and kefir water, and it is very good. I think it could be a little more fizzy, but with our house being so cool, it takes a very long time for this to get warm enough. In the spring, our house is really cool because we don't have the fire on as much, but it still gets pretty chilly in the evening. So when we wake up, the house is pretty cold. So it's kind of hard to keep kefir at the right temperature. We may experiment with a heat mat in the future, but it still works. Casey is reading the recipe to me that we are using for this, but I'm also altering a lot of it. Only one of these I need. Oops. Okay. I see. Really.
I think we used every dish and utensil that we have in this house. People give us a hard time about having a dishwasher, and just since there's just the two of us, why don't we just hand wash all of our dishes? But I don't know if you saw how full that was. That wasn't even with us making every meal from scratch. And it's just like, I'm not washing all those dishes, you know? Like, this is gonna take an hour and it'll be done. And it'll make my life so much better. And I love it.
Oh, is it everywhere? It's like in my eyeballs, so I feel like it's.
You wanna?
I shoved this in here and then it just poofed everywhere.
Close. Look at. Originally, I hadn't spin, but you're right. It took me forever.
How much do you usually put in mine?
3.
Like this big?
Oh no, don't.
Don't do 3.
No. I'm a very good tea maker. You're too close to me. That's good. I have been making tea almost every night since we had you folks over for tea when we did our house tour. I don't know. I've always liked hot tea, but I kind of go through hot tea phases, and I'm really in one. And I don't know, I like to have it at night. I like to have coffee in the morning, and then like after dinner, I like to make hot tea. We drink decaf tea. We drink decaf everything. I drink decaf coffee in the morning. Caffeine does nothing for me. I think though it's nice to have kind of just set up these fancy little cute things, just romanticize your life. Sometimes I'll even just take a fancy teacup and sit on the couch while we're watching TV, but it just feels a little fancy and elevated, and it's fun. So you should do it too. And it gives me an excuse to look at antique stores and find cute tea stuff.
Even though we don't have room for them.
Mm-hmm. We really don't. Also, these muffins are really good.
They are really good. Some people are probably going to ask for the recipe for these muffins, and the thing is, most of the time I'm just winging it, or I'm using a recipe and I'm turning it into a gluten-free recipe and also altering other things about it. Maybe one day I'll test all these out and make it multiple times and be able to write a recipe. But mostly, we're just like making food and sharing it with you. These are sweet potato muffins. If you go search the internet for just a sweet potato muffin, I subbed out applesauce for the oil. We have so much applesauce that we canned a couple years ago, so I always try to put applesauce in every baked good. And then we subbed out cottage cheese for this recipe. It called for sour cream. Cottage cheese just gives you a little more protein, and we always have that. And then I swapped out gluten-free flour for the gluten-full flour. And I would say that these are delicious, but I think you could still tweak the recipe a little bit. I ended up having to put some milk in it. It was just like way too thick. That's why we're not gonna have a recipe for this, and why a lot of times we don't have recipes, because I'm just making something off the fly. I've always cooked that way. I think Casey's a little more very specific about using a recipe.
Yes.
But I've always just been more free with it.
It'll work out. She's, in general, just a way more laid back in the kitchen. That's why I don't like to cook. I have a lot of cooking anxiety. I'm not really sure why, but I do. It's just like, I feel stressed out. So I don't do it. I clean.
She does sometimes. Thanks for spending the day with us, eating all day long.
We hope for our videos to just kind of be a calm, slow moment during this crazy time. So
Hope that's what you're getting from this.
we'll see you next time.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Get 30% off your first Thrive Market order and a free gift when you go to thrivemarket.com/heywanderer.